Welcome to the Dave Pamah Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Pamah.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Pamah Show. And my guest today is Beth Kraszewski, a nationally recognized wealth advisor. She's going to probably correct me on the name.
So bad. I know that name catches people every time. So
mine does as well, but it's not as long as yours.
I know. I married into this one. It's Kraszewski, but don't worry about it.
Right. Anything that ends with ski reminds me of a Polish name, It
does. My husband is of Polish descent. Yeah.
There you are.
Yeah.
And so a nationally recognized wealth advisor, nationally meaning in the US because I'm in the UK, certified divorce financial analyst and Forbes top women wealth advisor, and author of Stronger Than You Know, who's helped hundreds of women turn one of life's most devastating moments into a launch pad for financial power, clarity, and long-term freedom. Beth, welcome to the Dave Pamah Show. Please remind me of that.
I know. The last thing. You know what? You listen to some podcasts, of course not yours, and they're just, I love it. That, having a little mix up in the beginning. So this is great.
Kraszewski.
Yes, good enough. That is what we will go with today.
Right. Well, I'm going to call you Beth from here on now anyway.
Let's just go on a first name basis.
All right. Well, Beth, you've been talking or walking alongside hundreds of women at their most vulnerable moments. So what personal experience, turning points, or hard lessons taught you that divorce isn't just a financial event, but a defining life crossroads? And how did that shape the way you now guide women towards becoming stronger than they ever imagined?
Yeah. So it was about in 2018 that for some reason I started attracting divorced women into my life. They were showing up in my office and wanting help. And they were just feeling really helpless when it came to their finances. And they had just come out of this traumatic situation. And they looked at me and they said, Beth, where were you during my divorce? It would have been really great to have more of this guidance during the divorce. And so that really started a journey that I did not intentionally plan. And now we're at the point where we work with, 4 dozen plus people going through divorce every year. And it's just, I am a person, it's wired in my DNA that what I want to do professionally, I want it to feel purpose driven. And so it just is really powerful to walk alongside these people who are smart people, but find themselves in this horrible and new situation, and to walk alongside with them as they go through this transition in their life.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's quite interesting. 2018, that's when I started my podcast, actually, around this time, 2018, actually. But I didn't want to suffer from pod fade. It could have happened that year, and then it didn't think. But for you, it's quite interesting that women suddenly came to you in 2018. Was it because you went through that same situation, or was you a kind of divorce lawyer at the time, or what?
No. So I have never been divorced. I had, what's interesting, I had never even been in a courtroom at that time. So I was not an attorney. I think that what had happened was my approach, when we think of financial planning, investments, wealth management, we think of the technical side of it, the taxes, the investment allocations, like all of that technical side, which I love. I've always loved numbers. But I've always had an equal energy in the relational aspect of money and how the decisions that we make with our money and how our awareness on how it impacts the people around us, how it impacts ourselves. So my unique ability is I've been blessed with this yin and yang of the technical understanding along with the emotional understanding of money. And so I think I think the stars, sort of aligned there. And I just somehow then attracted the people who, in divorce, there's even more so of that need of that balance of the technical and what I refer to as the relational aspects of money.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, that's quite interesting. So you came from a financial background then? Really?
I did. So
Yeah.
I had been wealth. I mean, at this point, I lost the number track, but at this point, I've been a wealth manager for about 25 years.
Yeah.
So the divorce thing came. I had worked with people going through divorce here and there throughout my career, but it was in 2018 where it showed up. And then actually, I was listening to one of your previous podcasts. Maybe you and we both started that sort of new journey in 2018.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened.
That's right. Yeah.
People realized they really didn't like their spouses when they were stuck in the house.
That's one of the things that, yeah.
And so it really amplified what we had going on. There was a lot of divorces.
My podcast amplified then as well, actually. But yeah, that's one of the discussions I did have at the beginning of the pandemic was I wonder how many couples it could do two things. It could either enhance your relationship or the other way around. It's just one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It was,
and I think the aftermath is still going on now from that period, actually, with a lot of things, really.
For sure. There has been a lot, I think, still coming out of that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably a very historical date, 2020, actually. So my podcast actually, it amplified. So anything online, Netflix, online shopping with Amazon, Zoom, all that was just completely like became a new world, with those tools.
And Dave, like what you're saying there, I think is true of, I consider myself an entrepreneur. I think you are too. And one of the things, and this is true with divorce also, right? When COVID happened, it was like, oh crap. It shook it changed our reality.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a very powerful ability to be able to be in a new situation that feels horrible and say, but how can I be the light? How can I find my light? How can I take what seems like tragedy going on and step forward in a different way? And clearly your podcast has done that as well during that time. So kudos to you for being able to pull your, put your pants on every day and come out here and do this podcast in a time that was so challenging.
Yeah, well, that's something I will remember. I mean, irrespective, I'm carrying out a service for people, and it is being listened to globally, and I'm glad to help in that way. I'm not thinking of the money really so much, but it'd be nice to have it. The sort of money you can. I'd probably take the Golden Globe now. It's a new award, So
Right?
that'll probably do nicely for me.
I love it.
I'll get the money coming in.
Yeah.
But going back to divorce, I mean, even me, I would be thinking, you know what? I'm thinking of divorce, but actually, it's who's going to get this and that and blah blah blah. That's the first kind of. It's sad, really. You think of that, and obviously, if there's children involved, you really definitely got to be careful, with a lot of stuff. So, really, you really want to avert divorce in the first place, don't you? Really.
Oh, I would say absolutely. So going through the number of divorces that I have worked on, I think my husband's more amazing than ever. It's really, but also, I think anything that anyone can do to avoid it for sure. I always say, we'll get a couple divorces a year where someone has just sort of fallen out of love. Those are not as motivating for me to work on. The types of divorces that we tend to work on where things really exploded in a big way. So
yeah, I know. Yeah.
Usually there's major power control issues, which maybe showed up in physical violence, maybe not. It could have been, I don't know if you saw the Netflix series, The Ozark, but I feel like sometimes we're involved in that, just really horrible vices that were found out with with the other spouse. So
sorry, what was that? Sorry, that last bit you said. The physical...
just various vices. So we run into a lot of infidelity.
Of course, yeah.
Addiction.
From a male point of view, but it can happen the other way around. But mostly things like violence, physical violence, and infidelity is more on the male, or the it's portrayed or depicted that way. It can happen a female way, but a female way, it's more psychological, though. I mean, there has been abuse that way round as well, and that's more kind of narcissistic in that way in terms of, more manipulative. And the skills is kind of more that female side. And I'm not trying to put a gender kind of argument here. I'm just saying it,
both ways. No, I agree. We are, in our marketing and how we talk to our broader audience, we do really focus on that female market.
Yeah.
But about 20 to 30% of our clients are men.
Okay, yeah.
And they can go through the same, can go both ways.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I'm very gender neutral on this. However, because we tend to work, I hate that this stereotype is still true, but because we tend to work with a spouse who is less financially empowered, a lot of our clients do end up being women. However, I have a lot of powerful women.
Yeah, of course.
These sweet women that we work with too. But with
patriarchal and discrimination in the workplace and all other stuff, of course, it's still kind of a man's world in terms of you still got a bit of a way to go since this, there's women's right to vote in the 1920s and all other kinds of things that's happened, Serena Williams getting equal pay, and I was at Wimbledon that time when they agreed it. I used to work at Wimbledon on centre court, and then sort of next thing, and the next argument was, well, they should play 5 matches the same as the men. It's like, well, have you measured the physical exertion and the heart rate afterwards? Things like that. Anyway, let's not go down there because this is about your financial service that you provide to women and how they got to come to you in 2018. What happened in 2020, because that is a historical time, and how they exploded to where you've come to today. So tell us about that journey, then, before you go into, service.
Yeah. So as mentioned, again, in 2020, there was just more people going through divorce. And so we, people just started coming in more and more. And what we do is pretty much there's not a lot of people from a financial planner, financial advisor perspective who focus in divorce. So we really hit this place where there was a need in the market that people didn't even really know that a solution existed. We've showed up as that solution. And so people have really found that it to be powerful to have our type of support during divorce.
Yeah. So basically, did that shape, because obviously you've been doing this financial advising stuff before 2018, and it sounds like you've been specialist for women doing this. I mean, you've got the Forbes, women's award, but did that shape the way that you now do things compared to pre-2018?
Well, it has shaped the way because previously we had a much more diversified client base, right? Like people coming in with different types of what we have always specialized in is complicated situations. So situations where you go to an advisor like, I don't know, I know how to help you with your investments, but I don't know all these other complexities with the taxes and your estate issues and the legal things that you have going on. So we've always been, before I became an entrepreneur, I was at a very large finance and trust company in the United States. We worked with very high net worth. So I had this experience of working with complicated situations. So divorce is just now is the main focus. So most of our clients that we have coming in are going through divorce, and we're helping them through those complexities.
Yeah. And is this your own company you're running now? Is it?
It is.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that started from 2018 or 20 or?
So it actually started in another time of crisis in 2009. So during the financial crisis.
I know about that. Yeah. I lost a lot of money then.
What was great about it was that I didn't have any clients when the market was going down. So it was actually serendipitous in that at that time people were upset with their advisors, even though it wasn't their advisor's fault. So anyways, I was lucky to not have to go through as much of the impact of that most financial advisors went through during that time.
Yeah. No, I wished I could get some good advice. It was very difficult to. I was actually in a bank sorting out my money. I just had some money coming to me at the time in 2007 or 8, and then someone from America actually in the UK said, "Oh, my husband works in like you in investment in the US, and he's saying don't do it. There's another crash coming. Don't put your money here, there, and everywhere." And I thought, what to do? Do I have to believe her? And all of a sudden I see it brewing up, and I thought, well, and then something happened to a bank in the UK, and the government bought it out in the end. It became a government bank, but everyone was queuing up, lining up, trying to get their money out quickly when the crash happened in 2008 or 2009, and I was like, we're gonna maybe property, and I did it an overseas property where my mum's from in the Caribbean, and that went wrong. It was more of a fraudulent thing that happened then, and it was like, lost money now. Wished I put it in gold, actually. That would have been the best place, because that's the safe haven, wasn't it, at the time?
At that time, I know gold is so funny. It reacts differently. It's
I know it can go either up or down depending on what's going on, but it's kind of like a safe haven when these things are going on.
For sure.
But they're looking at Bitcoin as well as being that, but actually it's still too volatile and not still established enough, even though they're getting regulated now. But there you go.
Interesting to see what happens with all of that.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm in another different, not mess, but a different kind of investment situation. But yeah, just trying to sell up, because I'm trying to sort of stay in the UK now and do things and go global from here, So you can base anywhere because of the internet, and do that.
For sure.
But let's get back to your investment company then. So you've more or less started this. So you're obviously quite established, and in 2009 was when you really kind of like your business size started really exploding because of all that.
I went out on my own then in 2009 and had some great growth so I was already very established. We were doing really well. And then the divorce, that market really came to us, and that has put a new explosion of growth, which has been great to have, and as I mentioned now, it's really about the impact and the purpose, right? It's great to come to work every day and to really feel like, oh, wow, I made a real difference today. So I'm grateful for that.
So, going back to the original question where I said, what personal experience or turning points or hard lesson taught you that divorce isn't just a financial event? It can't be divorce because you've never been divorced, but what other personal experience would you say, or turning points and hard lessons?
Yeah, when I think about probably the biggest one, so I had mentioned we have some things in common. Track is one of those. I went into high school. I was a really great athlete.
What did you do?
So I was a sprinter.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I did sprinting at school, and then I moved up to the 4 and 8 because that was really
well. And that was our oldest son is a distance runner. My husband was a hurdler. Our daughter.
Okay. Oh, so you did athletics anyway. Yeah.
And our youngest he's still young enough. He hasn't sort of picked his path in track though.
That's interesting.
But anyways, so I came into high school, had a bright
mindset.
future.
Yeah.
And I decided to choose to be much more involved with drinking, drugs, and bad decisions with lots of boys. And
drinking. There's lots of athletes that drink anyway, so you can't really rule that one out.
Gosh. I went from like top point guard at basketball.
Oh, point guard. I would have been point guard. I'm too tall. I'm too short for any other position.
So am I. So anyways, so I had come into this high school situation, and I had certainly developed a persona for myself. How was making horrible. I was the bad girl. It was really horrible, and my life was not heading in a right direction. And somehow, at some point, being as rebellious as I was, I think I realized, like, okay, I played this game. It's not for me. But that turnaround of having to show back up at school when certain people had developed everyone's still really shocked, I'm sure, that I've become a responsible adult, Dave. But to go through that, it was intense. And so that was, I could think of all sorts of moments of resilience, but that high school one was certainly a formative moment for me.
Yeah. I remember 15, I went through a bad patch, and then I was obviously a known track star then because I was winning everything, and then went off the rail a bit because of that. But it's something that happened at school. Something triggered it. And I don't have to go through it. Otherwise, there's a whole new episode. We're talking about a different subject almost. And then I got back on track, and I did boxing training, but it's a similar kind of training and the fitness and everything, And then I was into all sports really, but football, I played football from school, but then went back on track, And then of course, being high, on national level, and then even international by the time I was 16, turned it all around, But there was little, like student life, university life, or college, you call it college, 18, 19, 20, 21, all sorts of things are going on, but you still carry on doing the track or whatever scholarship you've got, the structures there in America, especially,
Well, and it's interesting, Dave, that we're sort of reflecting on these things that are happening in high schools, because so we have 3 kids right now that are between the ages of 11 and 15. And I, like, one of my guiding principles is being a mom. When they go through their hard times, I'm like, thank goodness they get to have this experience. So we also, 2 of our kids are dyslexic and dysgraphic.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I have dyslexia, so yeah.
Yeah, I've heard you mention that.
Yeah. So,
and talk
and that's
about
that's part of some insecurities of mine that I had. Probably
For
what
sure.
happened when I was 15. So.
And tons of insecurity with it, and it creates a place where there's I've said, especially our daughter, who's also dyslexic and dysgraphic. She is like the most resilient kid I know. Like, I mean, when you can come out of so I look at kids who just, like, everything is just easy for them. Grades are easy. They do well in sports. It's like, oh, those poor kids that they haven't had the experience of going through. Like, if our kids don't go through these times of challenge at a young age, where does someone learn to build resilience? So anyways, yeah.
Yeah. So you'd say that when these divorced women came to you and everything, because that's probably where you saw you maybe could empathize with resilience.
Well,
could you apply what you learned, your life's lesson there onwards? Do you think that helped?
Sure. For sure. So the resilience in divorce is huge, right? You're going through this time in your life, which is not only emotionally disruptive, is like this emotional disruption, right? Impacts your relationships with your kids. Obviously, you had this vision for your future that's just exploding at that point. You're in the middle of this sort of legal battle and this financial thing, and it's also overwhelming. Like, that's
the part you don't need divorce, really. If anything, avoid it, right? Because of all that,
Yeah, for sure. That's why, this is not a podcast about telling people to
No, of course not. This advice, please don't take it if you need to go through it, Roden, honestly.
Avoid it absolutely if you can.
If you can,
and if you get there, then the resilience happens every single day, right? Like, these are people who were living productive lives who are having a hard time getting out of bed in the morning and needing to find a new purpose to get out of bed. When I think about resilience, I actually, the first person that comes to mind, I have a client, and she found out that there had been affairs going over a really long period of time. And she also found out in that period of time that she had cancer. And so she is going through, like, the fight of her life, dealing with the fact that there's been major infidelity, having a small daughter. Yeah. And I love, like, when I talk to her, it is so inspiring to see her resilience, because she just talks about, look, he, like, really screwed me over. Like, I went through really horrible time. And she talks about how this vision for the future and her business idea. And she started to work on it. Like, she's just, when I am so thankful that I get to see resilience every day. And one of the things I love is that sometimes someone from the outside can spot resilience in the person does themselves. And it's really, I'm just grateful that I'm in a situation where I can walk alongside and help people realize how freaking resilient they are. So anyways, I could talk about resilience for a long time.
We can. Well, that's what this show's about, really. So we can talk a bit longer about it if you want.
Yeah. So. Well, and it is one of those things that I love about the divorce part, because it is really a test of, it's a test of resilience, but I find that it's such a disruptive time. And you've maybe you've experienced this too, when you go through new challenges, maybe the tools that you use to help support your resilience previously aren't the same tools that are needed in this moment. And so finding those new tools of resilience, in a variety of ways, is super powerful. So yeah. Have you found that too?
Well, I can empathize with a woman because I have prostate cancer, and it's something I have to live with, but it's in remission. But at the moment I'm on my own with my daughter, but I prefer to stay the mediation route so that we all know, still be a unit. He knows the mother, and there's a relationship rather than the disruptive route. And that's why I said, the first thing you're going to think of if it does happen is the money, and obviously everything else. But we're really looking at, and co-parenting wise, what's going to happen to Angel in the future, and her money if she doesn't get a job or if she's at university, so that kind of thing. That's all sorted. But what I'm trying to say is, I can empathize with the lady that's in that situation. You see what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I would agree that some of the tools you do learn when, like you said about track, that I wrote it in my own book, Firefighting from Within. So my profession was firefighting. Your background's financial, but there's been some character building stuff that's happened in my childhood, and I do mention about taking up running and blah blah blah, and any sport really, but that was my sport, really. I'm not going to run away from that. And it's actually healthy. You go out in nature and jog, it's actually going to do you a lot of good. And it's actually killing the cancer for me. It's breathing in that air and the T cells and the immune system and
sure. I feel like nature is a major supporter of resilience.
It's part of resilience. It's part of it. Definitely, absolutely is. Chemically wise, it's doing something inside you and your brain as well, neuroscience wise. And I don't want to talk about science in the show because I know some people, even offline, people say, Dave, you're getting too much into science, because I've got a coaching qualifications as well, and it's like, I should be actually helping you, not talking about science, and that's what you do, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do, I would say there's the mathematical science of what we do, and then there's the emotional science.
Well, exactly. And that can work hand in hand when you're dealing with your clients, can't it?
It does. It certainly works hand in hand. I can switch from talking about a complex tax situation to then really connecting deeply with someone and supporting them in that moment, emotionally.
Yeah. So where are you at now then, Beth?
So I'm very excited. I published my first book.
Wow.
2.5 months ago. So
wow. What's the name of the book?
So it's Stronger Than You Know.
Right.
So talk about resilience, right? That's it is
a resilience. It's a resilience sounding book. Mine's Firefighting from Within. How to master the tools of life. So people thought, oh, it's a book about firefighting because it's a nice picture of me, in a nice background in my firefighting gear. But it's not about it's a mental side of firefighting, if you like, but applying it to life, But sure. sorry, go on. Your one, Stronger Than You Know.
Yeah. So Stronger Than You Know came out about 2.5 months ago. It's again focused more on women, though I've received a lot of great feedback from men too. But it's focused a little bit more on the financial aspects, which sounds like a horribly boring book to read. So we made it very.
Title sounds good.
Yeah, there's we have a lot of stories in it. I have a sort of an off-color sense of humor, so there's some good quotes in there. So it's meant to be funny, it's uplifting, and it also goes over just some of the sort of basic financial tools in a divorce.
Oh, okay.
That most people aren't even aware of, right? Like how, we talk about this thing called a marital balance sheet, and it's what keeps track of, like you had said, who's going to get what. Most people do what you're saying, Dave, and they have this thing in their mind of, what's going to happen. The marital balance sheet is what actually shows that to people, and it's how those decisions are being made. So, and there's just some good tips. And so anyways, that has been it's been very well received. And so I'm in another, I think, expansion place of really expanding working with people throughout the country in the United States. Okay. So that's where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, when I wrote my book, it's really to kind of like really get some speaking engagements and things like that, because that's where the big money is really, in terms of rather pulling a book off a shelf in droves all over the world. That's nice if that happens as well, but at the end of the day, it can be much more bigger doing this and a podcast as well. Even more if I get that Golden Globe. But anyway, but where's your plan in terms of all that now? Obviously you got your business, and I've got my little thing that I'm doing as well here.
Yeah, it's great.
So what's your plan now after the book and your business?
So, the plan now is that a big part of why people come to us is we provide the consulting during the divorce, financial consulting during the divorce. And our goal, I say most people, when they sign that final divorce paper, they may understand, here's what I'm getting in assets, or here's what my ex-spouse is going to be paying me every month. But what they don't understand necessarily is what is that future going to look like for them with that, what they had just agreed to. And so we bring that forward, and we help people earlier on in the divorce process know what the potential long-term plan can be. That helps them make better decisions during the divorce. It also helps that transition post-divorce. And then we also really get in the weeds when they're complicated. We're very involved with if there's complicated assets that the attorneys don't even understand, and explaining those. And I do some expert testimony work. So where I'm called as an expert to testify on financial matters during divorce. That's a smaller part of what we do. I think that it's an important part. It helps then for the people that I'm more consulting with along the way to give me a different type of expertise that helps them. So I have a team. There's about 10 of us on my team. It's good. So what's next is that we're just having further expansion of what we do, and then we'll see what's next after that. But right now we're digesting everything that's been coming from the book.
Everything's going very well, and the book is going to be kind of a good kind of pathway for you as well. So
I think so. Yeah, it's been good.
Well, Beth, tell everyone before we go where they can find your book and everything that you do here, because obviously there will be people listening.
I appreciate it. So the book can be found at this company you may have heard of called Amazon. So you can look for the book on, I'm just joking with that. So you can find the book on, I have that sarcastic sense of humor that not always comes through. So
I've got maybe humor, but I don't want to go there.
So check out the book on Amazon. It's called Stronger Than You Know. And people can also go to our website, which is Purposeful Wealth Advisors. And there's a way to sign up for a meeting with me. We also have an ongoing webinar that you can find on the divorce or resources page of our website.
Fantastic. Well, Beth, you say your surname again. And then
Kraszewski. Yes, Kraszewski. Don't even worry about it.
It's a great pleasure speaking to you today, and then I'm glad we could share some similarities and things, and to really, really enhance what the listeners can get out of, get some value out of this. And thanks a lot for coming and sharing that on the Dave Pamah Show today.
Great, thanks, Dave.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts, or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Pamah Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.